Hi everybody and welcome back. My name's Melissa and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. Today's tip is to be careful where you shop. And this is going to sound absolutely crazy. So I noticed that the first one I noticed really was Aldi. And it really irked me because Aldi, there were two Aldis. They were 4.2 miles apart or 3.8 miles apart. They were like right around 4 miles apart. Same city, same county, same, obviously same state, like same everything, right? And at the one Aldi, the eggs were $5.99 a dozen. This was like back in January, February, March, something like that. January, February, I want to say. And the eggs at the other Aldi were $3.49 a dozen. Now, unless you're taking those eggs and like, carrying them like, in a little spoon back and forth, you're not going to convince me that 4 miles is a matter of transportation cost, especially because the Aldi that was more expensive is actually closer to the highway. So that alone should make up for it, even if it's a few miles up the highway or whatever. But that's a huge difference. And I looked on their website because I was like, what the hell? Like, it makes sense. It made sense to me when Aldi in Illinois charged one price versus Aldi in Florida, because like that's a significant space. So, still doesn't make sense why Florida oranges are more expensive in Florida than Illinois. Don't even get me started on that one. I'm telling you that it's all in the gas and transportation cost is just utter bullshit. So they charge what the market can bear. So apparently at the one, the market could bear $3.49 a dozen, and the other could bear $5.99 a dozen. And like they're like, oh well, we have the cheapest overall prices, but the store, it was a different competitor a block away. Their eggs were $4.99 or $4.49 a dozen, and then the other store where they were comparing it at the $3.49 a dozen, there was a Food for Less that was $2.99 a dozen. So I noticed the egg thing. Food for Less, where it was $2.99 a dozen, they also had Mariano's and Kroger, and both of those were more expensive, and they're all Kroger stores. So, sorry. I've started noticing it too at Meijer, different locations, at Jewel, different locations. So I noticed I was thirsty and I wanted something to drink, and I was at Jewel and I walked by the drinks, and they had like all their Ollipops and all of that were like 2 for $4. They were $2 each. And then at later on that night, I had to actually run to my local Jewel for something. I can't remember. And sorry, when I walked by the display case, they weren't showing they didn't have all the signage there. Like, I was like curious. So I pulled out my app, and sure enough, at that location, they were still $2.49 to $2.99 a can, depending on the brand. Like, they were just normal price. So the sale wasn't there. So, and I noticed like a different thing that I'd seen on sale, and so I was going to get it for my kid, and then it wasn't on sale at mine. I was like, what the heck? So, Jewel, even though it's all one big corporation, when they have their general sales, they have a lot of different pricing at the stores. Meijer, I'm seeing different pricing at the stores. Aldi, different pricing at the stores. And I mean, I feel like with Jewel, Meijer, and Aldi, it's just like so blatant, because like at least Kroger tries to be all slick about it, putting it under different names, under Mariano's versus Kroger versus Food for Less. But your Aldi might not be as cheap as your neighbors, your the Aldi in the next town over, or even the other side of town. So Meijer, there doesn't tend to be 2 per town, but out of the 3 I looked, 2 of them two of them were within, I think, 6 or 7 miles of each other, and the other one is, sorry, completely opposite side. They're like 45 to 60 minutes away. So, yeah, but depending on the store you go to will depend on how much you pay, and that to me is absolutely insane. And you know, sometimes it's all over the place, sometimes it's pretty obvious, sometimes it's just little things I notice as I walk by the aisles, because I shop for other people too. So you got to remember, there's a lot of things where I walk down that aisle multiple times a day at different locations, you know, Target and Meijer especially, sometimes Jewel, not as much as Jewel. But don't just assume a store is the cheapest. And even if you know one store is the cheapest, don't assume that's going to be true of every location. Like I said with the Aldi eggs, I think that was the most obvious of them all. And for any of y'all who are like, oh, Aldi should sue you because that's how some of y'all roll, look on their website. The charging what the market can bear, I pulled that directly off their website. But yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, I don't know, now they have so much data to pull the prices, and it's all about increasing profits, because you know, who cares if people starve, as long as those rich people have money. Woohoo! Swear to God, we all need to like start forming communities where we make food accessible to us and say screw the corporate overlords. Anyways, again, my name's Melissa, and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. If you want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow.